Good morning to all of you. And so my job here is to give you a little bit of a Twitter overview and then to get Catherine to send a tweet shortly. Just can I have a show of hands if anybody here is already on Twitter? Oh gosh, so I'm preaching to the converted anyway. So, and can I have a show of hands, how many of you tweet on the mobile phone? Good, okay. So for those of you who don't tweet, just to give you a little bit of an insight into what Twitter allows you to do. The way I visualize Twitter in a lot of ways is it's like a room full of people, a global conversation that you and I can tune into. And today probably one of the most important things is to be part of this conversation for so many reasons. Many, many years ago when I first signed up to Twitter, I didn't quite see the point of it. But it soon became apparent to me that in my line of work, a lot of my colleagues were actually sharing really useful resources, really useful information in Twitter. And say I had 10 favorite people whose blogs I'd like to read. If I actually went to their website every day to read those blogs, I just wouldn't have the time to do that. Whereas when I started to realize that these same colleagues of mine who wrote really good articles are actually on Twitter and having a conversation on Twitter, then I started to see the point of actually listening to that conversation. So if you like, Twitter is like entering a room full of people and listening to what they say. So I'm going to actually sign into the Twitter website. I'm actually going to exit this if I can, because it's going to keep making sounds otherwise. And I'm going to start by actually signing in myself and showing you some of the syntax of Twitter. And we'll then sign Catherine in, and she will send a tweet from here. And it will work seamlessly, of course. So what happens initially is within Twitter, you can choose to follow people. Now, people you follow are people who you feel have interests matched to your interests. So, for example, I'm interested in ICT in education. I'm interested in ICT for community projects, for youth work. So I look at people who are in this space and I follow them. So I have quite a number of people I follow, something like 815, which you might think is a big number. But in reality, if you imagine that room again, not all 800 are in the room at the same time. So if you go into Twitter at any one time, you're actually just seeing a slice of conversation. So if somebody comes in at 8 o'clock, say my colleague DK, I can see him in the audience, he comes in at 8 o'clock, and I come in at 9 o'clock, I might have missed his tweet. So if there are people I actually enjoy following, like DK and others, I can put them on a list of people and say favorites. And I can then actually set up that list and just view my favorites. So this is when you begin to look at the whole conversation and start to filter. What if I want to know throughout the world what people are saying about digital inclusion? Well, I can actually search the words digital inclusion, and it will pick up from the global landscape, anybody's conversation on digital inclusion. So this is where you begin to actually harness that conversation, because otherwise it can be a lot of noise. You go in and there are lots of people talking about different things. But the minute you start to search and actually set up, I use a program called Tweetdeck, and you can set up columns, and there are many programs like Tweetdeck, you can set up columns and actually follow those conversations. So let's give you an example. Let's search. Today for this conference we have a hashtag set up, DIW2010. Now, a hashtag is when you want to unite lots of people around a theme. So imagine if I was talking about swine flu, just as an example, but there are people all over the world talking about swine flu. To get all the conversation about swine flu, you can set up a hashtag, #swineflu, and when you search #swineflu, it picks up whatever anyone in the world has said about swine flu who have actually used that hashtag. So it's a way of uniting people around a theme or a topic. So in this case, I'm actually going to search DIW, and that will bring up, hopefully, the conversation around today's conference. Whatever people have been saying in the last few minutes or the last hour might actually come up straight away. So here you'll see the first tweet, Communities 2.0, and someone has said, @Sangeet, explaining the benefits of Twitter. Now I want to tell you what the @ symbol means, because Twitter has a couple of really strange symbols. It might seem like Greek the first time you go in. So if I'm talking to one of you, or if I wanted to say something to Communities 2.0, but I wanted to say it publicly, I'll say, at Communities 2.0, have you seen the latest government report? And that's called a public shout-out, a public conversation. But it could be that I'm talking to Catherine, and I'm actually saying, by the way, have you seen the latest work done by at Communities 2.0? Great piece of work. So what that means is, Communities 2.0 can also pick up that they are being mentioned. So in Twitter, that's called a mention. So let's have a quick look at digital, at the hashtag, what's being picked up. You notice straight away the #DIW. So all the conversation with #DIW is coming up here, and you immediately see what people have been saying. And in Twitter, you can also put in links. Now, traditionally, links are really, really long. But in Twitter, you can actually automatically shorten the links. So you have to keep to 140 characters. And that's one of the key things about Twitter. So in a way, it's like tuning into a conversation. You pop your head into a room, and you get to see what people in the room are saying. So you can see all these different people and what they're saying here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page. And notice there, now if I wanted to see if my name's been mentioned at all today, I can go to @mentions. This is a special search which just picks up tweets which have mentioned my name. Now, it could be people talking to me, or it could be people talking about me. So if you are a brand today, if you are a community project today, if you have a presence here, this is where you pick up and respond to people asking you queries. And it's really important to be part of this conversation, because people could be talking about your project. There could be something happening in Neath and someone saying, oh, I wish there were some really good digital projects in Neath. But if you are tuned in and you are from Neath and you have a community project, you could pick that up, because you might have a search set up looking for Neath and looking at community projects. So it's really about understanding how to do that. So here, here's Dermot, thank you Dermot, watching live from Belfast, Communities 2.0, and these people have made some comments to me, and this chap here said good luck, thank you, and so on. So this is how you pick up people talking about you, right? That's the mentions. Now the retweet is a really important one, right? How much time do we have, Catherine?
You keep going, Sangeet, we're okay. 5 minutes?
5 minutes? 1 minute?
One
okay.
minute.
All right. So the retweet is when, let's say I have 500 followers, but my 500 followers are not the same as your 500 followers, but I want to share something. So if let's say I think digital inclusion Wales is a really important topic, I send out the tweet. Somebody else can pick that tweet up and retweet it to their followers. So a retweet is when your message has been rebroadcast to somebody else. Right, because of time, I'm going to sign out, and we're going to sign Catherine in, and Catherine's actually going to send a tweet.
I'm bracing myself.
Yeah. And so Catherine, do you want to come over here? We'll sign you in. Catherine just signed up for this account, just for this today, so... This is just to show you, if you've not done it before, how easy it is to actually send a tweet. Oops.
I've actually destroyed my previous account because, well...
No.
Oh.
That's fine.
Because some of you were trying to follow me, and of course, I wasn't really doing anything.
And 100, isn't it? So you needed to type that in as well. Right, 1 second.
For those of you who don't use Twitter at the moment, if you do want Sangeet to help, she's going to be around all morning. And again, Communities 2.0, our team are notorious tweeters. Do we call you tweeters? I feel I'm really missing out with Twitter at the moment. I really feel like I'm missing a trick. I'm missing a lot of the important conversations that are going on around digital inclusion. And I would encourage all of you to have a go at this. There's been so much stuff going on the digital inclusion website. I keep looking in and seeing these conversations, and I feel really left out. It seems to me that if Vladimir Putin can announce his happiness about getting the World Cup by saying hooray on Twitter, then we need to get our heads around this.
Yeah. So Catherine's in, and this is so she can type in a hello world or hello
world.
From the conference.
Hello Deputy Minister. Would I put that first?
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah.
How many characters do I have, Sangeet?
140.
Crikey.
Yeah, so that's quite a lot actually. So. And if we put #DIW 2010, DIW
DIW
2010,
I warn you, everybody, if I can do this, you're all going to do it by the end of the day.
right? And if you hit tweet,
There we
that
go.
basically sends the message. And anyone following the conference will now pick up Catherine's tweet because she's used the same hashtag.
And that will now be on the website, yeah?
It will be. So guys, thank you very much. And that's a very quick overview. Nab me if you need more information. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Sangeet.